we got to talk to Rhamondre Stevenson, but now let's give him his due. The man just got paid, got signed to an extension. Might have come to a surprise to some people because of how the running back market works and everything, but now he's getting paid like a top 10 back. Now, if you look at the numbers, I think they backed it up. If you look at what he's done, 2022 especially, where for stretches he really was the entire offense. He's a great pass blocker. So from your perspective, do you think he was worthy of that extension, and why exactly? Again, because, I mean, you did it at such a high level for this team.
I believe he's worthy of it. He's a guy, he's done it first, second, third down. He's done whatever the team has needed him to do. He's been the guy on the field, 80% plus times, of the snaps on the field. So unlike, kind of what we did when I was there, we rotate 4 or 5, 6 guys out there. A lot of times when he was there, when Damian went down, he was out there playing a ton of snaps, which I was shocked to see because, his rookie year, failing the conditioning test, doing all that stuff, I would have never imagined him playing that many snaps on the football field. So it was a pleasure to see, the growth for him, the player that he developed to. And like seeing him out of Oklahoma when we drafted him, I'm like, oh, this is just another one of those big dudes, trying to run dudes over. Yeah. But then like you see him, he's making guys miss, he's catching the football. He's dynamic, man. And he's really grown into a great player and definitely a top 10 back, top 5 back. I'm sure he wants to go out there and prove it this year. I know he kind of said it, during the interviews, during OTAs or before that he wants to be the guy. He wants to be the feature back. And he should. And I think you got to keep those core guys within your organization, new staff. He's been coached by Bill Belichick. Mayo was there with him. You got to keep, those guys offensively, defensively in there that can help, spread that new culture that you're trying to implement throughout the team. He's a well-deserved contract. He's definitely a playmaker.
Amen.
Then I'll rip the Band-Aid off then, James, because you're a part of the media now, and the running back market and those contracts, it's a talking head topic, right? Yeah. And I've said it in the past, and I'll admit to it. Like I've said, oftentimes you shouldn't give a running back a second contract, and I use the Patriots as an example because they have churned out several different guys, and you talk about Harris and Rhamondre, and they keep coming. They get injured, things like that. And there's numbers that back it up and there's numbers that don't. We see the Saquon Barkley stuff last year. Then he gets a big contract with Philly. So from a running back who's played the game at a high level for a long time, what are your thoughts on what goes on in the running back market as far as the franchise tag and not giving them, more than 2 and 3 years and things like that? Like, what do you make of it and what are your thoughts about it?
It's tough. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. I think, guys should be getting paid, may not be getting paid as much as receivers and all that. I know that it's a passing game and everything, but guys that, are difference makers that can play, first, second, third down, guys like McCaffrey, guys like Kamara, guys like, Nick Chubb. If you're a true difference maker for your team, I think you deserve to make, close to $20 million, whatever the market price may be. I know everybody says you don't win a Super Bowl with a, $20 million running back. Like, you can do that for any different position. You can skew those statistics however you want to do it. You can chop it up however you want to do it. If you got a guy who can go out there and make plays a la, Christian McCaffrey could have been a Super Bowl MVP, from this past year if they won that game. If you have a difference maker, pay him. You got to be a unique guy. If you're just a regular guy, I'm going to find a different guy in the draft, a younger guy, a cheaper player. Yeah. But if you got a true playmaker like Rhamondre and guys like that on your football team, I think they deserve to get paid. I think the market is going to slowly work itself back up. It kind of dipped off some. I think because of the reason for that was guys like, Ty Gurley, Le'Veon, they got their money. Zeke, and the production was a little off. So, that made them dip. They're like, we're not paying these backs $18 million and they're not getting over 1,000 yards. They're not giving me my 10-plus touchdown. I can respect that. But I said there's other positions that, that the performance doesn't match, but they're still paying these guys, the same 100%. Amount of money. So, I never really understood it. I mean, it was just kind of a trend, I think. And I think it's gonna work itself because when it comes playoff time, you need you a back, when it's cold outside, when it's fourth quarter, you're trying to close the game out, you need a guy who can go and punch out, 2-3 yards, whatever, and make a play to, kind of send you home to victory. So I think it'll get back to where it needs to be.
And that's another reason I've been saying I think Rhamondre was worthy of that contract. Because you look before, obviously, he goes down because of a hip drop tackle. Yeah. It's not like he's, made of glass or nothing. Like, it is now banned from the sport. So you think crazy. I think the only game he actually missed because of any illness was because he was sick one week, I think a couple seasons back. So that availability is huge. But Rhamondre doesn't have to take on the load all by himself this season. Again, Antonio Gibson, he projects kind of in your old role, that third down kind of receiving back, but also in this outside zone, wide zone scheme, he can also run the rock because he's a big dude. So what are you expecting from Antonio Gibson, and how did you feel when he was signed by the team and, his potential fit with these guys?
I thought it was a great signing. He's different than, the guys that they currently have on the roster. They've been missing a guy like himself on the roster for some years now. I know Rhamondre could do all 3 downs, but even still, he's just a tad bit different. He played receiver in college, played some back too, so he has the versatility. He's a bigger dude. He can run through arm tackles. So I think just having a guy you can specifically, scheme, whether they use a sub back, third down back, I don't know what they plan on doing, but to have a guy that you can literally plug in there and potentially the defense has to make a different call because he goes out there. I think that makes a huge difference, for them offensively, just to have a guy like, I know when I went into the game, I could hear the defense say 28's in or White's in, like stuff like that, just to make sure they're alert. That way it's not just the same guy, going out on the field every single time they can make the same calls. I think it makes the defense think a little bit. I think he could be used a lot more. I don't think he was used a ton, in Washington the past couple of years. I know he had a solid rookie year, so I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to prove himself as well. And you take some of the load off Rhamondre. I know he got paid. He could be out there, whatever, most of the snaps and everything. But to have another guy who can really step in and there's really no drop off, I think that's big.
Testing my skills on Prize Picks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Use the code CLNS for the first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Kind of a scheme nerd question here, but when it comes to pony personnel, I feel like we've been talking about it for a couple of years. It's always exciting on paper, but then sometimes, if the offensive coordinator isn't quite creative enough, it's like, yeah, you got 2 backs, but it's just they're both going to the flat. Like, it's like, I'm not really putting any fear in these guys, but how do you feel about it with Rhamondre and Antonio? Because again, we've already seen, we can't really say exactly what we saw, but they're getting creative with Antonio Gibson. So how do you feel about those 2 running back packages and the kind of stress it could put on a defense having, again, Rhamondre and Antonio Gibson on the field together?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it challenged the defense. They have to figure out what personnel they want to match up with, whether we want to go nickel, whether we're going to go base defense. They go base defense, then obviously we're throwing the football. You're getting 2 guys matched up on linebackers, letting them win. So it puts stress on, but the guys have to put it on tape, obviously, that they can win in man-to-man coverage consistently. I think that's when it really poses a problem. I know for me, it's like me, Rex, or Brandon Bolden or Deion Lewis. Like whenever we went out there, we put stress on the defense. So you make the defensive coordinators worried. If they can put that on tape early in the season and it's effective, then I think they'll keep calling. But they have to use it. I think when you have quote unquote questions in the receiver room and all that, and you got some more veteran running backs, why not lean into them? Use some pony personnel, not just on third down, either chipping, like you said, not just chipping, going to the flat, scheme some stuff up on first and second down, motion shifts, empty with both guys out there, and really stress the defense out.
They can talk that 2019 Eagles game. I remember killing those boys. All right,
or the other one, it's the Super Bowl against the Rams, 53, when you guys ran 21 with Rex and Devlin, and it effed up the Rams so bad, but they had those guys split out, and it's like little stuff like that was just it really messes with the defense.
Even what year? I think that was 2018, the AFC Championship before halftime or something like that with Rex. We ran like regular personnel 2 minutes. And we walk the ball down the field and score. So there's different ways, you can use it when you have versatility at the running back position, where you're not just lining up in 21 and it's 90% run. You're like, okay, whatever, we'll stack the box and we're going to shut that down. When you line up at 21 and you get it empty, like, oh boy, like how we match this up here, you know what I'm saying? So if you have versatile guys like Dre and Antonio Gibson, it makes a world of difference.